This story is read and written by 10 Hens in a Pen C on YouTube. This story vaguely mentions blood and death. If you are not comfortable with it, you do not have to be here. Let's begin. The end. Such a simple concept, and yet the road to get there can be so complicated. Well, the end doesn't really make a good story, so how about we start from the beginning? Let me tell you my tale of how I got a new family. Hold my hoof, hold my heart. Chapter 1, Part 1. The Badlands shook furiously, the true power of it easily stretching for miles without end. Two changeling queens battled it out in a one-on-one fight to the death, each hoping that they would take the other's hive for their own. The ground rattled around them as each blow became stronger than the last one. One of the queens, Queen Chrysalis, adorning her prismatic green armor, stumbled back as a barrage of bright blue light had hit their target, sending Chrysalis into a daze. By the time she snapped back to reality, it was too late. She barely had enough time to see the black object before darkness hit her. Queen Snow had won. The unusually white changeling, donning her blue prismatic armor, walked back to the hive with pride, even as the pulsing pain in her back leg threatened to pull her to the ground. She had just managed to get into her room before she collapsed, a cold darkness filling her vision as blood loss took her life. The next morning. The dim morning light shone lazily through the shattered glass windows of the queen's bedroom. The princess sat warily next to her mother's still body, contemplating the last thing she had said a day earlier. If I don't survive this fight, gather some love crystals and head to the Crystal Empire. You'll be safe there. Our trade agreements will make sure of that. A sad tone ringing through her voice. She didn't want to say it, but she did realize there was going to be a chance she wouldn't make it through this. Mom? Crystal said, a sad tone heard in her voice. What about the rest of the hive? The hive will make sure you can get away safely. After a few weeks, when the chaos has settled, you can come back. And don't worry about the hive, or the hive mind. If I pass, and the hive mind dies, all you need to restart it is a changeling that was originally from our hive. You'll know what to do next, Queen Snow had said. In the present, wiping what she could away from her bright blue tear-filled eyes, she galloped out the door, only to stop in her tracks when she realized just how cold the Crystal Empire would be. Even though her carapace was as white as snow, she sure wasn't built for it. Grabbing her mother's saddlebags, a couple too many scarves, and a pair of boots, she headed for the kitchen at a quick trotting pace. The Crystal Empire. An emergency evacuation notice was in place for half the Crystal Empire, the half that was closest to the mountain range. A weak earthquake started this fiasco only about an hour ago, bringing with it small avalanches of ice and snow that made its way into the Crystal Empire. As that hour went on, however, the earthquakes only got stronger, bringing with it more ice and snow, threatening to cover some houses on the outskirts of town. And it was still morning, early morning. By the time the second hour was rolling around, most of the houses closest to the mountain range had been covered. some chimneys poking out of the rubble of snow and ice. Pain rang through the streets as each earthquake hit stronger than the last, metaphorically for those who had lost their houses, and literally for those who were about to lose their hearing. A sound dampening spell was cast around the room in the castle, in hopes that they would still be able to hear if the castle didn't end up collapsing in on them in the end. The sound of uneasy hoofsteps filled the room. All the crystal guards who were posted in the throne room were sent to help in the evacuation. Princess Cadence sat as still as she could on her throne, trying to proofread a letter she had just written. Typically, she wouldn't have to do this, but the earthquake was making the lines so jumbled up that she couldn't send it like this. After a few minutes of rewriting, she finally gave up. It being more or less readable, she wasted no time in making the scroll disappear. Shining Armor noticed his wife's blue magic and decided to stop his wobbly pacing. "So, who's the scroll for?" "It's for your sister. I thought you would know that. She is, after all, the one who helped defeat King Sombra," Cadence said with a little bit of sarcasm. "And she is the Princess of Friendship." Huffing in defeat, Shining Armor decided not to answer. In Ponyville, word of a strong earthquake up north had spread very quickly amongst the town, starting with the Pegasi and going down to the Earth Ponies. But when Twilight started feeling the tremors in her castle, she knew it was no ordinary earthquake. Moments after the tremors started, Spike ran in with a scroll. "Twilight! Twilight! A letter from the Crystal Empire!" The timing of the scroll only served to frighten Twilight. Grabbing the scroll in her magic, she opened it frantically and began to read. This has been Hold My Hoof, Hold My Heart, Chapter 1, Part 1. If you enjoyed it, type changeling in the comments below so that I can keep going with Part 2.